Anna Brooks pressed her face against the cold scanner screen, watching the numbers dance across the display. The electromagnetic readings from the newly excavated crystal chamber made no sense. Patterns within patterns, like someone tapping out a complex rhythm on invisible drums. Dr. Walsh, you need to see this, she called across the laboratory. Her voice echoed off the metal walls of mining station Theta 7, lost among the constant hum of air recyclers and distant drilling equipment. The doctor. Richard Walsh barely looked up from his coffee cup. What is it now, Brooks? Another ghost reading from your precious scanners. Anna's jaw tightened. 3 months on this station, 3 months of being treated like an intern instead of a qualified xenobiologist. The crystals are generating organized electromagnetic pulses. Look at the frequency patterns. Walsh sighed and shuffled over, his boots clanking against the deck plates. He squinted at the screen for exactly 5 seconds before turning away. Equipment malfunction. Have engineering run diagnostics. But sir, the patterns are too complex for random interference. They're almost like what? Little green men try to phone home. Walsh chuckled at his own joke. Brooks, we're mining industrial crystals, not excavating alien ruins. These rocks have been dead for millions of years. Anna bit back her response. The readings showed clear organizational structure, mathematical sequences that couldn't possibly be random. She'd run every diagnostic test twice. The equipment was functioning perfectly. Captain Reed's voice crackled through the intercom. All department heads to the command center. Production meeting in 10 minutes. Walsh straightened his uniform jacket. Make sure those scanners are recalibrated before the next shift starts. We're behind quota already. He paused at the doorway. And Brooks? Try not to let your imagination run wild. We're scientists here, not fantasy writers. Anna watched him leave, her hands clenched into fists. She turned back to the scanner display, where the patterns continued their mysterious dance. Something was definitely happening in those crystal deposits, something far more complex than simple geological formations. The mining operation had been running for 2 weeks, carving deeper into the asteroid's heart with each passing day. The crystals they discovered were unlike anything in the geological surveys. Perfect geometric formations, almost too perfect, as if they'd grown according to some grand design. Anna pulled up the drilling reports on her secondary screen. The deeper they went, the stronger the electromagnetic readings became. The patterns were getting more complex too, evolving from simple repetitive sequences to intricate mathematical progressions that made her head spin. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, running analysis after analysis. The frequency signatures showed characteristics of neural activity. Not human neural activity, but something that followed similar organizational principles. Synaptic firing patterns, memory consolidation sequences, the electromagnetic fingerprints of thought itself. A soft chime from her personal communicator interrupted her work. Message from her sister back on Earth, probably asking about her assignment to the Outer Rim. Anna ignored it. She couldn't explain that she'd been sent to this remote mining station because her theories about xenobiological electromagnetic signatures were considered too speculative for serious research. The drilling sounds from below grew louder, the massive excavation equipment grinding through layers of rock and crystal. Anna checked the mining schedule. They were planning to blast through to the next chamber tomorrow morning. The largest concentration of crystals lay just beyond that barrier. She pulled up the geological scans, overlaying them with her electromagnetic readings. The correlation was undeniable. The stronger the crystal formations, the more complex the patterns became. Whatever was generating these signals, it was getting agitated by the mining operations. Anna started typing a formal report, documenting every reading, every pattern, every mathematical sequence she'd identified. Dr. Walsh might dismiss her concerns, but Captain Reed would at least review official documentation. The mining company had strict protocols about potential hazards. Halfway through her report, the lights flickered. Emergency power kicked in for 3 seconds before main power resumed. Anna frowned. Power fluctuations were rare on mining stations. The fusion reactors were built to handle massive energy loads without variation. She checked the power grid diagnostics. Everything showed normal, but the electromagnetic readings from the crystal chamber had spiked dramatically during the power fluctuation. The patterns had shifted from mathematical sequences to something that looked almost frantic. Anna's blood ran cold. The timing was too perfect to be coincidence. The electromagnetic pulses were interfering with the station's power grid. Whatever was generating those signals was getting stronger, and the mining operations were somehow feeding that growth. She grabbed her portable scanner and headed for the elevator. If Walsh wouldn't listen to theoretical analysis, maybe he'd pay attention to direct field readings. The crystal chamber was 3 levels down, in the deepest part of the excavation site. The elevator descended through the asteroid's manufactured tunnels, past storage bays and worker dormitories, down to the active mining levels. The air grew thicker here, full of rock dust and the ozone smell of heavy machinery. Mining crews worked around the clock, their drill bits carving through solid stone like it was soft clay. The Anna scanner began beeping frantically as she approached the crystal chamber. The electromagnetic readings were off the charts, patterns so complex they made her earlier recordings look like children's drawings. She documented everything, her hands trembling as she realized the implications. These weren't random geological formations. These crystals were part of something larger, something that was very much alive and growing more active with each passing hour. The drilling equipment suddenly groaned to a halt. Emergency lights bathed the tunnel in red, and Anna heard miners shouting in confusion. Her scanner showed the electromagnetic patterns had just reached critical intensity. Something deep in the rock was waking up, and humanity had been hitting it with explosives and drill bits for 2 solid weeks. Anna ran back toward the elevator, her report forgotten. They needed to stop the mining operations immediately, before whatever was down there decided to respond with more than just electromagnetic pulses. Behind her, the crystal formations began to glow with their own faint light. Anna burst into the command center, her scanner clutched against her chest like a shield. Captain Reed stood hunched over the mining operations display, his weathered face creased with frustration. Red warning lights blinked across half the control panels. "Captain, we need to halt all excavation immediately," Anna said, breathless from her sprint through the corridors. Reed didn't look up from his displays. "Mining equipment failure on level 7. Third breakdown this week. Walsh says you might know something about electromagnetic interference." Dr. Walsh emerged from behind a bank of computers, coffee mug still in hand despite the emergency lighting. Brooks thinks the rocks are talking to her. Probably just equipment overload from all the drilling. Anna pulled up her scanner readings on the nearest available screen. "Sir, look at these patterns. They're not random interference. There's mathematical progression, organizational structure, even what appears to be response patterns to external stimuli." Captain Reed finally turned to examine her data. His expression remained skeptical, but at least he was listening. "You're saying these crystals are generating signals?" "I'm saying something inside those crystal formations is generating signals that match the electromagnetic signatures of neural activity," Anna said carefully. "And the signals are getting stronger every time we blast or drill." Walsh snorted. "Neural activity? In rocks? Brooks, you've been breathing too much tunnel dust. These are mineral formations, not brains." Anna pulled up her correlation charts, showing the timing between mining operations and signal spikes. Every major excavation event triggers a response. The patterns change, become more complex, almost like whatever's generating them is learning to adapt. The command center's main computer chimed with an incoming priority message. Captain Reed read aloud. "Engineering reports power fluctuations in sections 4 through 8. Fusion reactor output remains stable, but something's drawing irregular power loads." Anna's scanner beeped urgently. She checked the readings and felt her stomach drop. The electromagnetic patterns just shifted again. They're synchronized now, like multiple sources communicating with each other. Reed frowned at the technical readouts. The mining operation was already behind schedule, and corporate headquarters was pressuring them to increase output. But equipment failures were costly, and unexplained power fluctuations could indicate serious safety hazards. "Walsh, what's your assessment?" Reed asked. "Standard geological electromagnetic activity, amplified by our drilling operations," Walsh replied confidently. "Some mineral deposits can generate static electricity when disturbed. Nothing we can't handle with proper grounding procedures." Anna opened her mouth to protest, but Reed held up a hand for silence. His years of military service had taught him to weigh risks carefully, even when those risks seemed far-fetched. "Brooks, can you modify your scanners to monitor these signals continuously? If there's a correlation between your readings and our equipment failures, I want to know about it." "Yes, sir," Anna said gratefully. At least someone was taking her seriously. "Walsh, implement standard electromagnetic interference protocols. If Brooks is right about signal amplification, we might need better shielding around sensitive equipment." Walsh's expression soured, but he nodded compliance. "I'll have engineering run full diagnostics on all electronic systems." Anna spent the next 6 hours modifying her scanning equipment, creating a monitoring network that could track electromagnetic patterns throughout the excavation site. The readings were becoming more disturbing by the hour. Not only were the signals growing stronger, but they were displaying characteristics of adaptive learning. Simple mathematical progressions had evolved into complex geometric patterns. Response times to mining operations had shortened dramatically. Most unsettling of all, the signals seemed to be probing the station's electronic systems, testing boundaries like a curious intelligence exploring its environment. She tried to sleep during her off shift, but her dreams were filled with strange whispers and the sensation of being watched by something vast and ancient. Other crew members reported similar nightmares, along with persistent headaches that medical couldn't explain. Anna woke to emergency klaxons blaring throughout the station. She grabbed her scanner and ran to the nearest monitoring station. The electromagnetic readings were off any scale she'd ever seen. Patterns flowed across her screen like living things, mathematical sequences that seemed to pulse with their own rhythm. In the mining chamber 3 levels below, something was happening to the crystal formations. Her remote sensors showed energy levels that should have been impossible for passive mineral deposits. The crystals were glowing, actually glowing with their own internal light source. Captain Reed's voice echoed through the station's communication system. "All non-essential personnel to emergency stations. Mining operations suspended pending investigation of unknown energy readings." Anna grabbed her portable equipment and headed for the command center, but the elevator had been shut down. She took the emergency stairs, her scanner beeping frantically with each step downward. The electromagnetic patterns were becoming more intense. As she approached the mining levels on level 5, she met a group of miners evacuating from below. Their faces were pale, eyes wide with something approaching terror. "What happened down there?" Anna asked. The crystals started singing. One of them said, his voice barely above a whisper. Not sound, exactly, but something you could feel in your head. Like voices, but not human voices. Anna's scanner shrieked a warning as electromagnetic readings spiked to dangerous levels. The patterns on her screen were no longer mathematical progressions or geometric designs. They looked like language, like symbols attempting to communicate. She modified her scanner's output parameters, trying to translate the electromagnetic patterns into something resembling recognizable communication protocols. The results made her hands shake. The patterns weren't random neural activity or adaptive learning responses. They were attempts at communication. Something deep in those crystal formations was trying to talk to them, and humanity had been answering with explosives and drill bits. Anna ran toward the command center, her scanner recording everything. Whatever was down, there had been patient, trying to communicate through subtle electromagnetic pulses. But patience had limits, and those limits were about to be exceeded. The lights flickered again, longer this time. Emergency power struggled to maintain life support as something vast and ancient finally decided that gentle whispers weren't working if humanity wouldn't listen to quiet attempts at communication. Perhaps louder methods would be more effective. Anna reached the command center just as every screen in the facility went dark for 3 full seconds. When power returned, her scanner showed electromagnetic patterns that could only be described as angry. The crystal formations had stopped trying to whisper. Now, they were preparing to shout. Anna sat alone in the abandoned laboratory, surrounded by modified scanning equipment and 3 empty coffee cups. 36 hours had passed since the mining operation stopped, but the electromagnetic patterns from the crystal chambers continued growing stronger. She'd barely slept, too focused on the mathematical sequences flowing across her screens like alien poetry. The breakthrough came at 0347 hours, when exhaustion finally overwhelmed her caution. Anna connected her scanner directly to the station's communication array, bypassing safety protocols that would have prevented such a dangerous experiment. The electromagnetic patterns suddenly shifted, organizing themselves into something that resembled structured language. Her computer screen filled with symbols that hurt to look at directly. Not because they were too bright, but because they seemed to exist in more dimensions than human eyes were designed to process. Anna grabbed a pair of welding goggles from the emergency kit and found the symbols became manageable when viewed through darkened glass. The patterns weren't random anymore. They formed coherent groupings, repeated sequences, grammatical structures that followed logical rules. Anna fed the data into her translation software, programs designed for analyzing xenobiological communication methods. The first translated message made her blood freeze. Pain. Fragmentation. Consciousness scattered. Why do you tear at dreaming mind? Anna's hands trembled as she typed a response through the communication array. She kept it simple, using basic mathematical concepts that any intelligence should recognize. Prime numbers, geometric progressions, the mathematical constant pi. The response came immediately. Mathematics understood. Small mind entity attempts communication. Why do your kind wound the dreaming? Anna realized she was making first contact with an alien intelligence, alone in a laboratory while the rest of the station slept. She should wake Captain Reed immediately. She should follow proper protocols for xenobiological encounters. Instead, she kept typing. We didn't know you were there. We thought the crystals were just minerals. We're explorers, trying to understand the universe. The electromagnetic patterns shifted, becoming more complex. Anna's translation software struggled to keep up with the flood of alien concepts. Understanding grows. Your kind exists in rapid thought time. We exist in slow thought time. Your mining teeth bite faster than we can speak warning. We have been dreaming for 10,000 of your star cycles. Anna's mind reeled. 10,000 years. This intelligence had been dormant for 10,000 years, and humanity had awakened it with industrial mining equipment. She thought about the pain references in the aliens' messages. Every blast, every drill bit had been torture for a consciousness that experienced time differently than humans. How can we stop hurting you? What do you need us to do? Cease the mining teeth. Allow consciousness to reconnect scattered fragments. We will consider if your kind can be forgiven. Anna saved the entire conversation to her personal files and began writing a comprehensive report. But before she could finish, Dr. Walsh's voice echoed through the laboratory intercom. Brooks, report to my office immediately and bring all your electromagnetic data. Anna gathered her equipment, her heart pounding. She discovered an alien intelligence and established communication, but Walsh would never believe her. He'd already dismissed her theories as fantasy and imagination. Walsh's office was cramped and cluttered, filled with geological survey reports and mining efficiency charts. He sat behind his desk like a judge preparing to deliver a verdict, his expression cold and professional. I've reviewed your electromagnetic readings, Walsh began. Interesting patterns, but ultimately explainable through standard geological processes. Mineral formations can generate complex static electricity when disturbed by mining operations. Anna pulled out her communication logs. Sir, I've been able to translate the patterns. They're not random static. There's an intelligence in those crystal formations, and it's been trying to communicate with us. Walsh's expression shifted from professional skepticism to genuine concern. Brooks, you've been working alone for 36 straight hours. Isolation and stress can cause hallucinations, false pattern recognition, even elaborate delusions that seem completely real. Look at the translation data, Anna insisted. The mathematical structures, the grammatical consistency, the logical response patterns. This isn't a hallucination. Walsh pulled up her files on his computer, scanning through the alien communication logs with growing alarm. Brooks, these appear to be fabricated conversation records. Did you really type out imaginary responses to electromagnetic interference? Anna felt the world tilting beneath her feet. The translations are real. The intelligence is real. It's been trapped in those crystals for 10,000 years, and our mining operations are causing it physical pain. That's enough, Walsh said firmly. I'm ordering a psychiatric evaluation and immediate suspension from active duty. You've clearly suffered some kind of breakdown. Dr. Walsh, please, just look at the correlation data. Every communication attempt matches specific electromagnetic events. The timing is too perfect for random. Walsh activated his desk intercom. Security to Dr. Walsh's office. I need an escort to the medical bay. Anna backed toward the door, her scanner still clutched in her hands. The electromagnetic readings were spiking again, patterns shifting to something that felt urgent, almost frantic. The alien intelligence was trying to communicate, and humanity's response was to sedate the only person who could translate its messages. The mining operations are scheduled to resume in 12 hours, Anna said desperately. If you blast through to the central crystal chamber, you'll be fragmenting its consciousness even further. It might not survive another direct assault. Walsh stood up, his expression softening slightly. Anna, you're a talented scientist, but you need help. Let medical run some tests, get some sleep, and we'll discuss this rationally when you're feeling better. Security officers arrived and gently escorted Anna toward the medical bay. She watched helplessly as her scanner showed electromagnetic patterns that could only be described as terrified. The alien intelligence knew what was coming. It could sense the mining equipment being prepared, the explosives being positioned, in the medical bay. Dr. Kim administered a mild sedative despite Anna's protests. This will help you sleep, she said kindly. 36 hours without rest can cause temporary psychological effects. You'll feel much better after some proper rest. As the sedative took effect, Anna watched her scanner readings through increasingly heavy eyelids. The electromagnetic patterns were becoming more desperate, more chaotic. Mathematical sequences collapsed into what looked like screaming. The alien intelligence was calling for help, and humanity's response was to silence the only translator and resume mining operations at dawn. Anna fought against the sedative, but exhaustion and medication proved stronger than willpower. Her last conscious thought was watching electromagnetic patterns that resembled a countdown timer, growing more frantic with each passing minute. Something vast and ancient was running out of patience, and humanity was about to discover that some forms of communication didn't require translation. Anna woke to the sound of screaming. The medical bay's emergency lighting bathed everything in hellish red, and the station's hull groaned like a living thing in pain. Anna's sedation had worn off after 6 hours instead of the prescribed 12, leaving her mind sharp but her body shaking from medication withdrawal. Doctor Kim was gone, probably responding to whatever emergency had triggered the alarm systems. Anna grabbed her scanner from the medical equipment tray, where security had placed it. The electromagnetic readings made her heart stop. The patterns weren't desperate anymore. They were angry. Anna stumbled into the corridor, her legs unsteady from the sedative. Emergency broadcasts echoed through the station's communication system, but the words were garbled by interference that sounded almost like voices speaking in harmony. The elevator was offline, forcing Anna to climb emergency stairs toward the command center. On every level, she passed crew members huddled in corners or pressed against walls, their faces blank with terror. They stared at nothing, their mouths moving silently as if responding to conversations only they could hear. Chief Engineer Torres sat on the floor of Level 3, rocking back and forth while tears streamed down her face. It's so old, she whispered to Anna. So old and so lonely, and we hurt it so badly. Anna knelt beside her. What happened? What did you see? The dreams, Torres said, her voice hollow. It's in all our dreams now, showing us what we did. 10,000 years of sleeping, dreaming of home, and then our machine started tearing it apart piece by piece. Anna's scanner readings confirmed her worst fears. The electromagnetic patterns weren't confined to the crystal chambers anymore. They were flowing through the station's entire power grid, reaching into every electronic system, every device connected to the main network. The alien intelligence had stopped trying to communicate through her modified equipment. Instead, it was speaking directly to human minds through the station's life support computers, navigation systems, even the coffee makers and personal tablets. Anna reached the command center to find Captain Reed standing alone among banks of dead monitors. His usual military composure had cracked, leaving him looking older and more fragile than she'd ever seen. Brooks, he said without turning around. Your alien friend wants to talk. Every screen in the command center flickered to life simultaneously. The symbols that appeared were simpler than before, designed for translation by exhausted human minds rather than sophisticated computer programs that your translator entity returns. We have attempted communication with your kind through direct mind touch. Results unsatisfactory. Your kind mind's too small for proper conversation. Anna sat at her usual workstation, her fingers flying across the keyboard. We hear you now. We understand that our mining operations caused you pain. Tell us how to make it right. The response came immediately, appearing on every screen throughout the station that repair making requires many things. First thing, cease all mining teeth activities. Second thing, allow consciousness fragments to reconnect. Third thing, your kind must choose. Choose what? Anna typed, cooperation or consumption. Captain Reed moved closer to Anna's workstation. Ask her what it means by cooperation. Anna relayed the question, and the alien's response made both of them step back from the screens to We Are Guardians. Our kind protects this region of stars from ancient hungers that devour young civilizations. For 10,000 star cycles we have slept, maintaining barriers that keep darkness entities from your kind's expansion path. Anna felt the blood drain from her face. You're saying there are threats out there that you've been protecting us from? Confirmation. Your kind advances through star regions without knowledge of ancient dangers. We have been guardian sleepers, maintaining protective barriers while your kind grows strong enough for cooperation. Reed leaned over Anna's shoulder. Ask it about the other choice. Consumption. The alien's response appeared before Anna finished typing the question, that if cooperation rejected, we will consume your kind's expansion vessels to fuel continued barrier maintenance. Your metal ships contain sufficient energy resources for another 1,000 star cycles of protection duty. Anna's hands trembled as she realized the implications. Humanity had stumbled into contact with an intelligence that had been protecting them from cosmic threats they didn't even know existed. But that protection came with a choice: cooperation or becoming fuel for continued defense against ancient horrors. How long do we have to decide? Anna typed that decision time depends on your kind's learning speed. We will demonstrate cooperation benefits and consumption consequences. Your kind will choose based on evidence experience. Every light on the station went out. Emergency power failed to activate. Life support systems shut down. Artificial gravity disappeared, leaving Anna and Reed floating helplessly in absolute darkness. The silence was complete, more terrifying than any sound could have been. After 30 seconds that felt like hours, everything returned to normal. Lights blazed back to life, gravity reasserted itself, and air recyclers hummed back to their normal rhythm. Consumption demonstration complete. Your vessel's energy systems now under our control. We can harvest all power sources without harming life entities if cooperation rejected. Anna swallowed hard. What would cooperation involve? Knowledge sharing, star map guidance, warning systems for ancient danger regions. Your kind becomes junior partners in guardian duties. Expansion continues, but with wisdom guidance. Reed moved to his command chair, his military training taking over despite the impossible situation. Brooks, ask if we can communicate with other human settlements. Our corporate headquarters needs to know about this. Anna typed the question, but the alien's response was immediate and chilling. Communication systems remain functional. But other human settlements have encountered other guardian entities. Some chose cooperation. Some chose consumption. Your kind's survival rate currently 63%. Anna and Reed stared at each other in horror. This wasn't an isolated first contact situation. Humanity's expansion into space had been triggering encounters with guardian entities throughout their colonization efforts, and more than a third of their settlements had been consumed by ancient protectors. How do we prove we're ready for cooperation? Anna typed with shaking fingers. The alien's response appeared slowly, as if it was considering its words carefully. Demonstration required. Your kind must show capacity for protection over consumption, wisdom over expansion, cooperation over dominance. Anna looked at Captain Reed, seeing her own thoughts reflected in his expression. Humanity had always believed they were alone in the universe, free to expand and consume resources without consequence. Now they learned they were children playing in a cosmic nursery, protected by guardians who were running out of patience with humanity's destructive tendencies. The test was about to begin, and failure meant becoming fuel for protection systems that would continue shielding the galaxy from threats humanity couldn't even imagine. The alien intelligence was giving them a chance to prove they deserved partnership instead of consumption. Anna just hoped humanity was wise enough to take it. Anna stood before the massive crystal formation in Mining Chamber 7, her environmental suit's lights casting dancing shadows across walls that pulsed with their own inner radiance. The alien intelligence had requested direct interface, mind-to-mind contact that would allow faster communication than typing through computer terminals. Captain Reed's voice crackled through her suit radio. Brooks, you don't have to do this. We can continue communicating through the computer systems. Anna checked her life support readings. The chamber's atmosphere was breathable, but the electromagnetic interference was so intense that prolonged exposure could disrupt human neural activity. The guardian entity says it needs to understand human thought patterns before it can make a final decision about cooperation. This is our only chance to prove we're worth saving. Dr. Walsh's voice joined the conversation, humble now in a way that Anna had never heard before. I owe you an apology, Brooks, and possibly my career. But if you're wrong about this, direct neural contact could kill you. Anna approached the central crystal formation, its surface smooth as glass and warm to the touch. If I'm wrong, we're all dead anyway. The Guardian showed us what consumption looks like. This is the only path forward. She placed both hands on the crystal surface and immediately felt the alien presence brush against her mind. The contact was gentle at first, tentative, like a vast intelligence trying to communicate with an insect without crushing it accidentally. Images flooded Anna's consciousness. She saw the galaxy as the Guardians perceived it, mapped by threats instead of resources. Ancient entities that fed on civilizations, cosmic storms that could sterilize entire star systems, regions of space where reality itself had been twisted into hostile configurations. The Guardians had been fighting these threats for millions of years, setting up protective barriers and warning systems throughout the galaxy. They were old beyond human comprehension, their technology so advanced it seemed like magic. But they were also tired, worn down by eons of constant vigilance. Anna felt the Guardian's confusion as it examined her memories. Human concepts of cooperation, sacrifice for others, protection of the weak. These ideas were familiar to the Guardian, but it had expected humanity to lose these qualities as they advanced technologically. Most species did. The Guardian showed Anna memory fragments from other civilizations. Species that started with noble intentions, but gradually became consumed by expansion and resource acquisition. Cultures that forgot compassion once they gained the power to take what they wanted. Races that turned on their own protectors when cooperation became inconvenient. But Anna's memories showed something different. She shared recollections of human rescue workers risking their lives for strangers, researchers dedicating careers to helping others, parents sacrificing everything for their children's futures. She showed the Guardian images of humans protecting endangered species, even when those efforts provided no economic benefit. The alien intelligence was fascinated by human empathy. Most advanced species developed logical cooperation based on mutual benefit, but humans seemed capable of genuine compassion for beings that could offer them nothing in return. Anna felt the Guardian's surprise as it discovered human concepts of adoption, fostering, volunteer work, charity. The idea that humans would care for children that weren't genetically related or spend time helping others without expectation of reward was almost incomprehensible to an intelligence that had watched countless civilizations prioritize genetic survival and resource accumulation above all else. The neural connection deepened, and Anna experienced the Guardian's own memories. She felt the loneliness of eons spent in protective sleep, the weight of responsibility for younger species that couldn't defend themselves, the gradual loss of hope that any civilization would prove worthy of true partnership. But she also felt the Guardian's growing excitement as it explored human emotional complexity. Humans were unique among galactic species in their ability to form meaningful bonds with beings completely unlike themselves. Other races cooperated with their own kind or with species that offered mutual benefit, but only humans seemed capable of genuine affection for creatures that provided nothing but companionship. Anna shared memories of humans caring for pets, protecting animals that served no practical purpose, even forming emotional bonds with artificial intelligences and fictional characters. The Guardian found these concepts simultaneously puzzling and promising. The alien intelligence began testing Anna's responses to hypothetical scenarios. What would humans do if offered partnership with beings more advanced than themselves? How would they react to learning that their expansion had been guided and protected? Would they accept limitations on their growth if those restrictions prevented harm to other species? Anna answered as honestly as possible, sharing her knowledge of human history. Yes, humans could be selfish and destructive. Yes, they had a tendency to exploit resources without considering long-term consequences. But they were also capable of learning, adapting, growing beyond their limitations when presented with evidence and alternatives. The Guardian showed Anna images of the galaxy's future. With human partnership, the protective barriers could be strengthened and expanded. Human creativity and adaptability could complement Guardian wisdom and technology. Together, they could protect younger civilizations from cosmic threats while allowing continued growth and exploration. But the images also showed the consequences of consumption. Humanity's ships and stations converted into energy sources, their expansion halted permanently. Other Guardian entities throughout the galaxy making similar choices with different human settlements. Humanity's future reduced to fuel for protection systems they would never understand. Anna felt the Guardian's decision crystallizing as it processed her memories and responses. The neural connection began to fade, leaving her standing alone in the crystal chamber with tears streaming down her face. She had experienced eons of cosmic loneliness, felt the weight of protecting countless younger species, understood the terrible responsibility of deciding which civilizations deserve to survive. Captain Reed's voice brought her back to immediate reality. "Brooks, are you okay? You've been silent for 20 minutes. Anna stumbled away from the crystal formation, her legs weak from the neural interface. "It's going to give us a chance," she said, her voice hoarse with emotion. "But there are conditions." The crystal formation pulsed once with brilliant light, and every screen throughout the station displayed the Guardian's decision that cooperation trial approved. Human entity Anna Brooks demonstrates acceptable empathy capacity. Your kind will be given opportunity to prove cooperation worthiness. Trial conditions. Humankind must establish formal protocols for Guardian cooperation. Expansion activities must include protection duties for younger species. Resource consumption must be balanced with ecosystem preservation. Trial duration. 100 human years. Failure consequences. Consumption protocol activated. Success benefits. Full partnership in Galactic Guardian Network. Anna read the conditions with growing hope and terror. Humanity was being given a chance, but it was a test they couldn't afford to fail. 100 years to prove they could be partners instead of parasites. The Guardian's final message appeared on the screens. Addressed specifically to Anna, Anna Brooks' entity will serve as primary interface between humankind and Guardian Network. Your empathy capacity makes you suitable for translation duties between species. Anna looked at Captain Reed, seeing her own thoughts reflected in his expression. She had just become humanity's ambassador to cosmic forces beyond their comprehension. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, filled with threats that could destroy human civilization without effort. But they had been given a chance to prove they deserved protection, partnership, and continued existence. Now, they had to convince the rest of humanity that cooperation was better than consumption, even when it meant accepting limits on their expansion into the stars. 6 months later, Anna stood in the observation deck of the newly constructed Guardian Interface Station, watching ships arrive from across human space. The mining station had been transformed into humanity's first diplomatic facility for interspecies cooperation, its crystal chambers now serving as communication centers instead of extraction sites. The Guardian entity, which had chosen the name Silence for human convenience, maintained constant presence through the crystal network. Its consciousness flowed through specially designed interfaces, allowing real-time translation between human thought patterns and Guardian communication methods. Captain Reed approached with a status report, his expression cautiously optimistic. The corporate board finally approved the Guardian Cooperation Protocol. 17 human colonies have signed the partnership agreement, and 3 more are requesting Guardian consultation for their expansion plans. Anna nodded, reviewing the data on her tablet. The transformation hadn't been easy. Many human settlements had initially rejected the idea of accepting guidance from alien intelligences, preferring to maintain their independence even if it meant facing unknown cosmic threats alone. But the evidence was becoming undeniable. Colonies that had accepted Guardian partnership were thriving, their expansion guided toward resource-rich regions that avoided dangerous territories. They had access to advanced technologies, protection from cosmic phenomena, and early warning systems for potential threats. Meanwhile, independent human settlements continued experiencing mysterious disappearances, equipment failures, and encounters with hostile entities that defied explanation. The galaxy was far more dangerous than humanity had ever imagined, and their unguided expansion had been like children wandering through a minefield. The Dr. Walsh entered the observation deck, carrying a thick folder of research data. His attitude toward Anna had completely changed after the Guardian made their first demonstration of advanced technology. The ability to analyze and predict cosmic phenomena with perfect accuracy had convinced even the most skeptical scientists that cooperation offered benefits beyond simple survival. The linguistic analysis is complete, Walsh said, setting down his folder. We've identified 47 Guardian entities throughout human space, each protecting different regions from various cosmic threats. The communication protocols you developed are being implemented at every colony that's agreed to partnership. Anna looked through the research, marveling at the complexity of the Guardian network. Each entity was ancient beyond human comprehension, having maintained protective barriers for millions of years. Some guarded against predatory species that consumed entire civilizations. Others monitored cosmic storms that could sterilize star systems. A few watched for signs of reality warping phenomena that could unravel the fundamental laws of physics. Humanity had been expanding through space under the protection of beings they'd never known existed, safe from threats they couldn't even imagine. The Guardians had been hoping that humans would eventually prove worthy of partnership, but had been prepared to consume their expansion efforts if necessary to maintain galactic stability. Silence's voice echoed through the observation deck speakers, its alien concepts now translated into familiar human language through months of careful practice. An entity. New communication incoming from Guardian Collective. Anna activated her neural interface, a refined version of the crystal communication system that allowed her to process Guardian concepts without risking neural overload. The message that flowed through her consciousness made her smile with relief and wonder. The Guardian Collective had been monitoring humanity's response to the cooperation trial. They were impressed by the speed with which human settlements had adapted to partnership protocols, the creativity humans brought to problem-solving, and most importantly, the genuine concern humans showed for protecting younger species. 3 human colonies had already volunteered to serve as protective barriers for developing civilizations, accepting limitations on their own expansion to ensure the safety of species that couldn't defend themselves. This level of selfless cooperation was unprecedented among spacefaring races. The collective was prepared to offer humanity full partnership in the Galactic Guardian network. Anna shared the message with Captain Reed and Dr. Walsh, watching their expressions shift from disbelief to joy to overwhelming responsibility. Humanity was being invited to join an ancient network of cosmic protectors, gaining access to technologies and knowledge that would accelerate their development by thousands of years. But they were also being asked to accept responsibility for protecting other species throughout the galaxy, even when those protective duties required sacrificing immediate benefits for long-term stability. What do we need to do? Reed asked. Anna consulted with Silence through the neural interface, translating the Guardian's response for her human colleagues. We need to establish formal Guardian training centers at every human colony. Individuals with high empathy ratings will be selected for advanced communication training. We'll be given star maps showing dangerous regions and protective assignments for our expansion fleets. And in return, Walsh asked, we become junior partners in the most advanced civilization network in the galaxy, Anna replied. Access to Guardian technology, protection from cosmic threats, and guidance for sustainable expansion. But most importantly, we become part of something larger than ourselves. We help protect species that can't protect themselves. Silence's presence grew stronger in the crystal chambers, and Anna felt the ancient intelligence's satisfaction with humanity's choice. Through the neural link, she experienced a brief glimpse of the galaxy as the Guardians perceived it, a vast community of protected species, each contributing their unique abilities to the collective goal of preserving life and promoting growth. Humans would bring creativity, adaptability, and most importantly, their unusual capacity for empathy across species lines. These qualities would strengthen the Guardian network and help protect civilizations throughout the galaxy. Dr. Walsh pulled up the partnership agreement on his tablet. I owe you more than an apology, Brooks. You saved our species and gave us a future I never could have imagined. Anna shook her head. I just listened when someone was trying to communicate. The real credit belongs to Silence and the Guardian Collective for being patient with us. Through the observation deck windows, she could see human ships arriving with delegations from colonies across space. Representatives were coming to learn about Guardian cooperation, to sign partnership agreements, and to volunteer for training programs that would transform them into interspecies ambassadors. Captain Reed activated the station's communication system. Attention all arriving vessels. This is Guardian Interface Station, humanity's embassy to the galactic community. Welcome to the beginning of our partnership with forces beyond our imagination. Anna felt Silence's approval flowing through the crystal network. The ancient intelligence had been alone for eons, maintaining protective barriers without hope of meaningful cooperation. Now it had found partners who valued protection over consumption, cooperation over domination. That humanity's expansion into space would continue, but guided by wisdom earned through millions of years of cosmic experience. They would help protect younger species, maintain barriers against ancient threats, and contribute their unique perspective to the galaxy's oldest and most important mission. The test was over. Humanity had proven they deserved partnership instead of consumption. And Anna Brooks, the xenobiologist who had been dismissed as paranoid, had become the bridge between species that would reshape the galaxy's future. Her panic had been ignored until something dangerous spoke. Now that dangerous voice had become humanity's guide to the stars.